Imagine walking down an ordinary city street on a crisp Tuesday morning. The sun is shining, the coffee shops are full of commuters, heavy double-decker buses and delivery trucks rumble past, shaking the pavement slightly. It is a scene of total mundane stability. The ground beneath your feet feels absolutely certain. A solid, unbreakable foundation of modern civilization. But then you hear a sound that does not belong. It is not an explosion. It is a deep, agonizing groan. It's a sound like tearing metal and crushing stone, echoing from somewhere deep underground. You stop. You look down at the heavy black asphalt. A tiny, jagged crack appears and branches out like a spider's web across the lanes of traffic. Then, in less time than it takes to breathe out, the illusion of solid ground shatters violently. A massive section of the street simply drops all of existence. It does not crumble slowly, it vanishes into a terrifying pitch-black abyss. In moments, a gaping crater can swallow parked cars and tear away building facades, leaving behind a cloud of pulverized concrete. This is not a scene from an apocalyptic Hollywood film. It is a reality happening right now in major urban centers across the globe. From the sprawling avenues of New York City to the neon-lit dense intersections of Tokyo, the ground is literally falling out from beneath us. When we see these terrifying craters appearing suddenly on the news, our instinct is to label them as unpredictable acts of God. We call them freak natural disasters. But the terrifying truth is far more sinister. The massive, devastating sinkholes tearing our cities apart are rarely natural phenomena. They are entirely man-made. They are hidden structural flaws, the unintended consequences of aging infrastructure, catastrophic infrastructure neglect, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the earth on which we have chosen to build. Today we are going deep beneath the asphalt. We will uncover the dark, silent physics of urban erosion and explore why the world's most advanced cities are slowly and inevitably collapsing from the inside out. To truly understand the modern urban sinkhole, we must first understand what a natural sinkhole is. In the natural world, these massive collapses occur in regions characterized by something called karst topography. Imagine a landscape where the bedrock is not made of solid, impenetrable granite, but of soft, highly porous rock, such as limestone, dolomite or gypsum. Over millions of years, rain seeps into the soil and absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, becoming slightly acidic in the process. This weak acid acts like a slow-motion solvent. As groundwater slowly moves through the earth, it aggressively dissolves the alkaline limestone bedrock. It silently carves out an endless, invisible labyrinth of underground caves, microscopic fractures, and massive, echoing caverns. For thousands of years, the heavy soil and clay resting on top of these caverns managed to hold their shape, forming natural arches. Eventually, however, the cavern grows too wide. The heavy soil roof simply cannot support its immense weight anymore. In a single violent moment, the arch fails completely and the surface collapses inwards with a violent crash. This is the natural life cycle of a karst landscape. It is entirely geological, predictable over vast periods of time and completely unstoppable. However, the sprawling concrete jungles we live in are a different matter entirely. Most major cities were not built on top of fragile limestone caverns. They were built on solid, stable foundations. So why are streets suddenly opening up and swallowing city buses? Because we have accidentally created an entirely artificial karst environment right beneath our feet. We took the incredibly complex and unpredictable physics of natural underground water erosion and supercharged it. Consider what actually exists beneath a modern city street. It's not just dirt and rock. It's a highly compressed, chaotic three-dimensional maze of vital infrastructure. There are massive, high-pressure water mains pumping millions of gallons of aggressively purified drinking water. There are sprawling, gravity-fed sewer lines carrying highly corrosive waste. There are also deep subterranean storm drains designed to channel flash floods away from the surface with great force. We have buried rivers of highly pressurized water directly beneath thousands of tons of heavy asphalt and concrete. We have created an environment in which millions of gallons of fluid rush constantly through aging, highly stressed pipes, just inches below the tires of heavy commercial traffic. Combine this with decades of intense mechanical vibration from the surface, extreme temperature fluctuations that cause the buried metal pipes to expand and contract aggressively, and the simple, unavoidable decay of century-old cast iron, and you have the perfect recipe for catastrophic subterranean failure. The monster is not the Earth. The monster is our own plumbing. So how exactly does a broken pipe turn into a 50-foot crater that can swallow an entire building? It is a deeply fascinating yet terrifying process of microscopic destruction that can take years to unfold, completely hidden from view. It almost always starts with a tiny fracture. Imagine a massive cast iron water main buried deep in the ground in the 1920s. Decades of heavy articulated buses breaking directly overhead take their toll. The relentless daily mechanical vibration travels down through the asphalt, slowly fatiguing the rigid, aging iron pipe, until, one day, a tiny hairline crack forms. It is so small that it does not trigger a pressure alarm at the municipal water facility. However, out of this microscopic crack, a highly pressurized, razor-thin jet of water shoots directly into the surrounding soil. This is where the physics of erosion take over. The pressurized water violently disrupts the tightly packed soil, turning solid, load-bearing earth into a soft, unstable slurry. Then the water pressure in the pipe fluctuates. Perhaps it is the middle of the night and demand has dropped. The pressurized jet of water temporarily stops. But the pipe is still cracked. Now the massive gravity-fed sewer line buried just a few feet away acts like an aggressive vacuum, as it is also cracked and aging. The groundwater, now mixed with loose, disturbed soil from the water main, is slowly drawn away, washing the earth down into the city's drainage system. Grain by microscopic grain, the soil that is supposed to support the heavy road is literally being washed away into the city's subterranean drainage system. This process is called suffosion. It is slow, silent, and entirely invisible. Over months or even years, the void grows. It expands from the size of a baseball to that of a car, to that of a large house. A massive, empty, cavernous space is growing right beneath a major urban intersection. But why doesn't the street immediately sag? Why do the cars keep driving normally? It's because the thick, highly engineered layers of modern asphalt and reinforced concrete that make up the road surface are incredibly strong. They behave like a rigid structural bridge spanning the growing void. The asphalt simply spans the empty space, stubbornly supporting the weight of the traffic above. Drivers have no idea that they are essentially driving over a thin, brittle crust of pavement that is hanging in mid-air. But eventually, the math catches up. The hidden cavern grows impossibly wide. The heavy, rigid asphalt bridge reaches its critical stress point. Then, it only takes one final trigger. A heavy rainstorm that completely saturates the remaining soil, for example. A slight drop in temperature. Or just one unlucky, fully loaded rubbish truck rolling over the exact wrong spot at the exact wrong time. The asphalt's structural integrity instantly shatters. The pavement snaps violently, and thousands of tons of heavy debris, vehicles, and anything else unfortunate enough to be there plummet into the dark, eroded cavern below. The invisible trap finally snaps shut. We are currently at a terrifying and expensive crossroads in urban engineering history. We have built magnificent infrastructure worth trillions of dollars above ground, which is entirely supported by a decaying network of Victorian-era plumbing below ground that is totally unseen. As these massive networks of pipes continue to age beyond their intended lifespan, the frequency of these catastrophic urban sinkholes is accelerating rapidly. So how can civil engineers combat an enemy that remains invisible until the moment it strikes? They must develop technology that enables them to see through solid concrete and soil. The most critical weapon in this new subterranean war is ground-penetrating radar. Rather than waiting for a street to collapse, engineering teams attach large, specialized radar arrays to the front of slow-moving municipal vehicles. These machines drive along the streets at night, firing millions of high-frequency electromagnetic pulses deep into the pavement. When these powerful radar waves hit solid, highly compacted soil, they bounce back to the surface with a very specific, readable signature. However, when the radar wave hits an empty pocket of air, the sudden change in material causes a strong, distinct reflection. Engineers reading the data in real time can suddenly see the terrifying, hollow caverns lurking just inches beneath the asphalt. Cities are also deploying specialized robotic crawlers. These rugged, camera-equipped machines are lowered directly into active sewer lines and water mains. They crawl through suffocating darkness for miles, using high-definition lasers to scan the interior walls of pipes and hunt for microscopic cracks and stress fractures that lead to catastrophic soil erosion. However, despite this incredible technology, we are ultimately fighting a losing battle against time and extreme financial cost. Replacing the entire subterranean infrastructure of a major global city would be a logistical nightmare, costing billions of dollars. It would require ripping up hundreds of miles of vital roadways, shutting down entire business districts, and completely paralyzing urban traffic for decades. It is an enormous and highly unpopular political gamble that most city governments are unwilling to take. So, we continue to patch the massive holes as they appear. We pour concrete into deep, jagged craters, pave over the wreckage, and wait for the next pipe to fail. Next time you walk down a busy city street, take a moment to look closely at the heavy asphalt beneath your feet. It feels permanent, it feels entirely safe. But remember the dark, complex, decaying labyrinth of pressurized water and fragile earth hidden just below the surface. Our magnificent, sprawling modern cities are an absolute triumph of human engineering. Yet they rely on a complex, aging, subterranean network that requires constant vigilance.